I'm actually a big believer in the principles of Christianity. I think they're very good.
So in what sense then are you not religious?
This is huge because Jordan Peterson, a world-renowned psychologist, is sitting with Elon Musk, a multi-billionaire tech genius and owner of Tesla, about Christianity. Check this out.
Okay, so you're a very wealthy man. You could give your children anything they ever asked for. Okay, so why not do it? Why not every time they ask for something, why not just deliver it?
You know, there's some wisdom that comes through the ages that you don't want to have someone be a spoiled brat.
And why do you think giving people everything they want exactly when they want it necessarily produces that? Because it seems to.
I think it almost always is.
Okay, you had a rough childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, like rough and tumble, rough childhood. Plenty of fights, and a father who was a difficult creature to contend with. Okay, what did that do for you? Why aren't you bitter about that? Because that's a pathway that people take.
I think that there are one can take, and often people do take, the path of vengeance.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And justify it by recourse to the reality of their own suffering,
exactly.
Which is often intense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So the story of Job, one of the things I concluded from the story of Job, because it's a precursor to the crucifixion story. So Job makes two decisions. The first decision is that no matter how terrible things become for him, he will not lose faith in himself. Mm-hmm. And the second is no matter what horrors are visited on him by Satan himself, he will not lose faith in the, what would you say, in the spirit that gave rise to the cosmic order. Right? No matter what.
Well, so, you know, while I'm not a particularly religious person, I do believe that the teachings of Jesus are good.
So if you notice by now, this is one of Jordan Peterson's most aggressive interviews he's ever done. And for good reason too, because he cares a lot about human psychology and philosophy. And sometimes we need that healthy bit of pressure to draw out those deeper internal feelings and questions that we all have. So in this case, it's Elon Musk and his thoughts on Christianity. So just to fill you in, it seems like Jordan Peterson is using a little bit of a hidden agenda based on a previous podcast that Elon Musk had with the Babylon Bee, where he starts talking more so about considering Christianity, that he wouldn't really be opposed to it. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you.
Bee is a Christian organization, you know, and we're a ministry. We're wondering if you could do us a quick solid and accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior.
On the show.
I believe in the God of Spinoza. But hey, if Jesus is saving people, I mean, I wouldn't stand in his way. You know, like, that'll be true. I'll be saved. Why not?
Sweet.
So just to be clear, the God of Spinoza is the same God that Einstein believed in, where he believes in a God, but it's not a personal God like the Christian God. Close, but no cigar.
Yeah. So I'm actually a big believer in the principles of Christianity. I think they're very good.
So in what sense then are you not religious? Dawkins just came out 3 weeks ago or thereabouts and announced that he was a cultural Christian, right? And so the question...
Right, I would say I'm probably a cultural Christian.
Okay, so...
I was brought up as an Anglican, and I was baptized. And although, oddly enough, my parents also simultaneously sent me to a Jewish nursery school. So it was Jesus our Lord.
Well, the Jews have a reputation for being religious too, you know.
Yeah, no, I might have been the only non-Jewish kid at the school. I didn't even realize that was the thing. So that is my upbringing.
So when Dawkins announced he was a cultural Christian, the question that came to my mind right away was, okay, there's a bunch of things going on there. The first is Dawkins' proclamation or admission that if you compared different societies and their axiomatic suppositions, he would prefer the ones predicated on Christian axiomatic assumptions.
I do think those are good ones.
Okay, so that's why I asked you the question about why you would consider yourself not a religious person, because it seems to me that the essence of it isn't the statement that you abide by a particular Protestant creed, let's say. It seems to me much more akin to the notion that you believe that this set of axiomatic presuppositions is like the pronatalist presumption. It's correct, like it's not correct.
It's going to lead to a better society, a society I think that we would prefer to be
This is huge because Elon Musk just openly admitted that he is, in fact, a religious person, finding value in Christianity for society to live by. Which reminds me of the Bible verse, Ecclesiastes 3:11, where he says that he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in human heart, only proving that we are spiritual beings, that we are constantly longing for a connection with God. So whether that be the Christian God or settling for lesser gods or even pleasures of this world. But spoiler alert, the only thing that can fill a God-sized gap or void in your heart is God. So right now, Jordan Peterson is about to explore Elon Musk's religious position. Like, what is his framework? What makes him think the way that he's thinking? So what Jordan Peterson's going to do is he's going to start pressing forward into diagnosing and deconstructing his values just to rebuild them up with the gospel and Christianity and see where that kind of holds up. Check this out.
What will result in the greatest happiness for humanity, considering not just the present, but all future humans?
Happiness or meaning?
Well,
which would you pick?
Personally, I'd pick meaning, because for me, meaning leads to happiness. But I think that's...
Right, but the reverse isn't necessarily the case.
Yeah, but I think if a set of principles is likely to lead to a society thinking of themselves as happy or content, or
well, okay,
then you want to then principles that lead to the most amount of happiness over time.
Yeah,
not just the present day.
Yeah. That iteration element's important.
Yeah.
Because
because you have to consider the happiness of future humans as well.
I think that's where the ethos actually develops, is that it's a consequence of iterated games.
Sure.
And it looks to me, given what you've already told me about the way that you resolved your existential crisis, is that you consistently pick that's adventure reward fundamentally over contentment. Now, you like your kids and you're content with them, I presume, when you're playing, but the way that you found meaning in your life is not through contentment, it's through adventure. That seems to me the case.
Well, it's not adventure for the sake purely of adventure. I do like adventure, and I've never really personally found it compelling to, say, climb Mount Everest.
Yeah. You're doing it conceptually.
Conceptually and from a knowledge standpoint.
Yeah.
Knowledge Mount Everest.
Right, so it's adventure. It's adventure with a destination in mind, right? And you already described the destination. It's
the destination is
deep understanding.
Yes, to deepen our understanding of the nature of the universe. I guess could call it a religion. I wouldn't be upset about that. That is my religion, for lack of a better way to describe it. It's the religion of curiosity, the religion of greater enlightenment. And then if you follow that, so like that's the goal, then what falls out of that goal? What falls out of that goal is to have consciousness expand. So I think it's probably good to have multiple religions and have different perspectives on things. And so what falls out of that is we need to take a set of actions that increase the probability that the future will be good for humanity.
Well, so one of the things I derived from this analysis I've been doing of the Old Testament is that faith and courage. I'll give you an example. So when Moses is on the verge of the Promised Land, he sends scouts out to check out Canaan, because that's the promise. Mm-hmm. Now, Canaan is the home of the descendants of Cain. It's the place of people who aren't aiming up, put it that way.
All right.
Okay, so the scouts go out to look at the future, and they come back in two teams. And one team says, there's nothing but giants there. It's a complete bloody catastrophe. You led us out into the desert stupidly. We were better off in the tyranny. There's no way we're going to survive, right? And the next scouts, or the other set of scouts, Caleb and Joshua, come back and say, well, there's trouble there, but if we aim up and we get our act together, we can turn this into the Promised Land. And the earth opens up and swallows up the faithless scouts. And it's the people who are led by Caleb and Joshua, who has the same name as Christ, by the way, and that's relevant. They're the ones that are led into the Promised Land. Okay, so what's the meaning of the story? Well, the future's always a challenge. And the moral thing to do is to evince faith and courage in the future, regardless. In some ways, it's a weird thing, because it's kind of regardless of the data. Mm-hmm. Because you can say, well, look at all the suffering that constitutes life, and look at all the potential horrors of the future. And certainly people do hesitate about bringing a child into a world like this.
I hear that often, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's an ethical requirement that's associated with living in the manner that would justify your life even to yourself, to have faith and courage in the future, no matter what.
Sure.
Right? So it's not a foolishness or what? Defense against death anxiety or foolish superstition, that faith. It's not that at all. It's a kind of courage. It's like, we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
We're going to make this work. And a child is a vote in that direction.
A child is a vote for the future.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. There isn't anyone more entertaining to associate with than little kids, because partly I think it's because they're not as cortically inhibited. So you're all filtered in, and you see the presumptions everywhere, and then a child comes along and you think, oh yeah, that's an amazing thing, and I'd forgotten all about that.
Sure.
I replaced my perception with my memory, right? And so children reopen that.
Yeah.
That's also why I think it says in the Gospels that unless you become like a little child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven, because you have to make contact with that untrammeled perception that existed before you ossified your perceptions into your foolish and often nihilistic habits.
Yeah, but I mean...
So unfortunately, at this point, Elon Musk decides to change the subject. No! But there appears to be seeds that Jordan Peterson has now planted in Elon about some of the good Christian values that he was already kind of suggesting to himself that were worth value. But lately, people on the internet are saying that Jordan Peterson might not really believe in the Christian God of the Bible. But what I do find interesting, whenever he's doing interviews, he always seems to strive to bring people on board into this ethos of Christian philosophy and the psychology that is found in the scriptures in the Bible. And he does this constantly. So for me, I feel like he's taking a neutral stance and is using his professional experience being a psychologist, where he's basically sitting people down, letting them just kind of open up, where he can just later on dissect it and then offer something of more substantial value, which of course in this case is the Christian philosophy and the gospel message. And I'm real curious about your thoughts on this interview, so comment down below. And if you like good Christian content like this, consider subscribing for more.